I'm going to call to order the regularly scheduled meeting of the Murphysboro Unit District 186 for April. And Mrs. Hines, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Brown?
Here.
Mr. Beavers?
Here.
Dr. Dorr?
Here.
Mr. Green?
Here.
Mrs. Janes?
Here.
Mrs. Evaldi?
Here.
Mr. Runge?
Here. Next item is the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good to do.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
Flag.
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we're going to have to work through a few things, that's for sure. All right, the next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Mr. Grody, are there any additions, corrections, or changes?
No, sir.
Then I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
In a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 5 is the approval of the consent agenda, which consists of District 186 regular board meeting minutes dated 3/17/2020, Tri-County regular board meeting minutes dated March the 18th, 2020, Tri-County bills for April of 2020, applications and reports, and I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 6 is the approval of District 186 bills for April of 2020. Are there any questions from the board? All right, then I will entertain a motion to approve the District 186 bills for April of 2020.
So moved.
In a second,
Second.
Second.
Mrs. Hines?
Mrs. Janes?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Beavers?
Yes.
Dr. Dorr?
Yes.
Mrs. Evaldi?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Runge?
Yes, motion carries. Item 7, communications. Terry, do we have any?
We do. We have 5 or 6, I believe. Mr. Grody and Board of Education members, I am writing to inform you that I have recently been accepted at Southeast Missouri State to purchase my master's degree in teacher leadership. I have chosen this graduate program to strengthen my leadership skills and learn how to become a better teacher leader for my school. I feel that I will be able to apply the skills and knowledge learned directly to my teaching and enhance my classroom practices. I am asking your permission to pursue this coursework and to be able to add the completed degree to my salary following the completion of this program. If you have any questions about the degree or specific courses I am taking, please feel free to contact me at any time. Sincerely, Carrie Quilquist.
Recommendation is to approve her graduate work.
I'll entertain a motion to approve that recommendation.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Who gave me a second on that?
I think that was everyone.
Shannon? Okay. All right. Dear Mr. Grody and Board of Education, please accept this letter of resignation from my position as high school mathematics teacher at Murfreesboro High School, effective at the end of the 2019-2020 school year. I have enjoyed contributing to the education of students in my hometown for the past 12 years. I have formed many valuable professional relationships and personal friendships with faculty and staff, not just at MHS, but throughout the entire district. Even though I will no longer be at MHS, I know these collaborative relationships will continue to grow. The decision to leave, especially since I will deeply miss my students and colleagues, was not made lightly. Although I struggle with this decision, I am excited about my new position at Carbondale Middle School because I know that ultimately this is the best path to take for my family. Thank you for supporting my opportunities for professional growth throughout the years. My time at MHS will be forever cherished. I will see you at MHS extracurricular activities where I will be cheering on the students of my alma mater. Once a Red Devil, always a Red Devil. Sincerely, Kelly Coperstein.
The recommendation is to approve her resignation. We wish her well.
And I'll entertain a motion to approve that recommendation.
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Members of the board, I would like to inform you of my intention to resign from the position of head coach girls basketball at Murfreesboro High School effective immediately. I appreciate the opportunity given to me during my tenure at MHS. Please let me know what assistance you'll require from me during the transfer period. Thank you, Webster McGuire.
The recommendation is to approve his resignation.
And do I have a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Navarra, this letter is to inform you that I am resigning my position as assistant coach of the Devil Dazzlers. I am graduating from SIUC this May and will be relocating after graduation. I want to take this moment to thank you sincerely for the opportunity to coach and be part of the Murfreesboro Red Devils community. I am so thankful for the continued support shown to the Devil Dazzlers team and coaches throughout my time. This has provided me with unforgettable memories and experiences I will never forget. I will also always support the Murfreesboro Red Devils and look forward to the continued success of the Devil Dazzlers dance team. Please let me know if I can be of any further help and feel free to contact me with any other questions. Sincerely, Loretta Engelbrixton.
Recommendation is to accept her letter of resignation.
I'll entertain a motion to accept that recommendation.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Dear Board of Education, please accept my letter of retirement at the end of this 2019-2020 school year. It has been a great pleasure working at District 186. I will truly miss working with everyone and the students in our district. Sincerely, Susan Otteson.
The recommendation is to accept her letter of retirement. We wish her well.
I'll entertain a motion to accept that recommendation.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
This is the last one. Dear Mr. Grody and the Board of Education, I am applying for my Master's of Education in Curriculum and Instruction from Mississippi College. I plan to start this journey in the summer of 2020. My long-term goal and purpose for achieving this will help me with my current role as a first grade elementary teacher. I hope with this degree I can learn new information that will make me a better educator. I also hope to dig deeper into the concepts and elements of curriculum and instruction. I plan on sharing this knowledge with my first grade team. My goal before getting into education was to get my master's before starting my career, but I chose to start a family first and go after my goal later in life. I feel like I am at a good place to go back and would really like to achieve this goal. I am asking for a step increase in my pay after completion. The anticipated graduation date would be May of 2021. Sincerely, Breanne Yokish.
The recommendation is to approve her graduate work as well.
I'll entertain a motion to approve that recommendation.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. That was it?
That's it.
Okay. Am I correct in assuming we do not have any fishbowl items?
We have two.
I've been correct then.
Yes. The first one's from Stephanie Finke, and it reads, congratulations to Miss Shannon Starrick for winning $1,000 through the Donors Choose Bill Gates grant in Amazon. She has selected hundreds of books to be distributed to students during remote learning. This is the second grant that Mrs. Starrick has won this year to provide additional resources to our students. Thank you, Shannon. The second one is from Cody Ellemeyer, and he wants to give a shout out to Mrs. Marlowe's CNA dual credit class. The trying times we are currently facing is a perfect example of the necessity of such a program. Mrs. Marlowe's class rushed to get all of the needed clinical hours in, just as Governor Pritzker had closed school. Because of this, we now have students who are working as CNAs at nursing homes on the front lines of this pandemic. Those students have witnessed loss due to COVID-19 right here in Jackson County. Those students are putting themselves in harm's way daily by going to work instead of school right now. MHS students are displaying the true heroism that all of our healthcare providers and first responders are portraying. We all should thank those students for choosing their career path. He could not be more proud, and I have to agree with him on that one.
Very good. Item number 9 is the Freedom of Information Act request.
We had none.
I don't see any. Okay. Item number 10 is the recognition of the audience. The Board of Education welcomes the audience to make public or employee comments. The board has set aside time in the agenda specifically for this purpose. Pursuant to Board Policy 2.230, each speaker shall be limited to a 5-minute presentation. Please be aware that while this is the time for the public to express its opinion and or concern, the board may or may not comment regarding public presentations. If a matter of public comment warrants discussion or action of the Board of Education, such discussion or action will be added to the agenda of a future meeting. And Mr. Grody, did anybody from the public or the employees send anything to you?
I've got nothing. I don't know if Mr. Carrington got anything. I doubt it. I do want to say, I just feel this is just an employee, not a concern, but just a comment. I want to give my condolences to the family and the students that knew and worked with Dr. Darren Haney. He was our ELL teacher at the high school, and he passed of a heart attack about a week ago at age 53. And so we've sent some money. He's putting together a scholarship. There's a GoFundMe account, and they're putting together a scholarship for our ELL students at the high school, which I think is very nice. Just our condolences to the family.
All right, thank you. We do certainly do that. Okay, moving to old business. First item under old business is the district financial update. This is informational.
Yeah, with the COVID, I'm hearing a bunch of different things. On the one hand, you have people that are saying the COVID recession is going to be a long bounce back for small businesses and that we're going to see the economic issues within the state for a long, long time. I've heard other people say that the recession is not going to be bad at all. As soon as the stay at home is lifted, people will go back to their spending and things will go back to normal in a pretty fast manner. I will tell you that our county facility sales tax is obviously going to be taking a hit. Somebody said to me, and I can't quote the source, but that 80% of your county facility sales tax is your fuel. And when I heard that, I thought, when was the last time I got gas? You know, I'm currently trying to eat out more often to keep the local businesses kind of moving, but not driving around as much. So anyway, we are aware of the uncertainty of the financial future, and we are moving forward as best we can. We are going to be recipients of some of the CARES money. The schools are getting the CARES money. The initial letter we got from Illinois State Board of Education will have about $800,000 once it opens up for us to spend for all of the salaries that we're covering, all of the extra expenses that we're covering, and then to try and increase our connectivity. The grant will, as soon as the state opens it, you'll have a year's time. So it's not like it's opening now and we have to do it by the end of this fiscal year. We'll have a year to really start planning and putting together some items there. Our categoricals, our general state aid is coming in. Our categoricals are lagging behind, and we've got an item on there about a transfer that we'll be talking about later for transportation. But anyway, that's what I've got as far as the financial updates. We're moving forward and we're trying to keep everything in consideration.
Hey, Chris, I have a question about the food program. Are we still getting the funding as far as the food program is concerned, and about how many meals are we doing daily or weekly?
Yeah, we were giving out a little over 1,000 meals a day, and we are getting reimbursed through the food program with the state with that. And so the harder part, I think, is Georgia is having some of the supplies are being shorted. Some of the meals she's got to scramble to try and make them a reimbursable meal. But she's doing a great job, and the workers are doing a wonderful job with getting those foods out there. But we do plan to get it reimbursed. And
Are there still volunteers needed? That was the question that I had been asked.
I can check with Georgia and then send out an email. At this point in time, I've heard that there's not. I know Mr. Runge's been driving a bus every day. I don't think that they've been short, have they yet, Mr. Runge?
No, not yet.
Good.
And she's gone to 3 days a week now. It's just Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And we're handing out double meals those 3 days.
Yeah.
So it's a lot better.
How much of a hit has the facilities sales tax taken?
We won't know. They're in the rears. So we won't know this month until I think like maybe August.
Okay.
So yeah, because what happens is the money gets collected, it then goes to the state, it comes back to the
Right.
regional office, and then it comes to us. And so it'll be a couple of months before we see the
They haven't given any projections or anything?
no, and I don't know if they can.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about it, and that's when someone said, gas is 80% of the sales, because I was talking about all the restaurants that closed and how people need to continue to eat at restaurants. And
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Item number 2 is the transportation contract extension with West Bus Service is enclosure number 1. Mrs. Bush, I'm assuming you're taking this. I know there was a lot of questions from the board.
Jan has been texting me. Her internet's not doing so well at her house, so she's in and out of being able to hear us.
Okay,
There were a lot of questions going out and about, and I think that Jan has addressed most of them. The administration recommends the extension. They just, in this financial times, we don't feel going out to bid would be the best interest. It is an increase. That's the recommendation.
I do have
And
a
I know-
concern about the cameras, not the penalty going away. Given the amount of money we're paying them, I mean, we'll be paying them, what, $1.4 million a year? At least?
Jan, can you hear us? I know Jan was in conversations with,
He's
you have to turn off
muted.
your mic, Jan.
You can hear me. My connection is terrible. I've lost this call like 10 times already.
Turn off
Yep.
your video. Turning off your video sometimes works, Jan.
What's that?
Turning off your video will help your bandwidth.
Yeah. Stop her
Save your
video.
bandwidth
Okay.
and turn off your
I
video.
just-
That's better for me anyway.
There you go.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, the
Um,
question is the $500, can we keep that, that penalty in the contract for West?
Well, we'll have to renegotiate because that was part of the proposal.
I agree those cameras should, I just think it saves us all.
Did you hear me?
Yeah. I just think the money that we're paying, I don't think it's too big to ask that the cameras work, and that if they don't work, then that they pay a penalty for it.
anyone else?
Did we charge them any penalties
They
for the
check them.
cameras not working?
Then one-
I don't think that they've ever been assessed a penalty. I know that we've had, every time we've asked to see the video, we've been able to see the video. And so,
I was just curious if they're taking that out just for some reason why if they haven't been assessed, what's the big deal about leaving it in? In my mind, that holds them to the fire to make them work.
Yeah, I think Jan said that they have been assessed one time. They've paid a penalty one time in the last 5 years.
Okay.
I mean, that's my only thing is when I read that is if they can say in their contract that they will make sure they work, but if they don't work, what's our recourse? It looks like we don't have any if we take that out.
Right.
And if they're only checking them once a month, that's a concern that they could not work for 20 days.
Mhm.
I see Jamie, Annette, Kara, and Kevin all having concerns. So can we table this then until next month and we'll come back with clarifications on the cameras? Because as it stands right now, we approve the contract, it would be without the cameras. And so to get the cameras added, we need to be in negotiations with them on that. So
How many times have you had to refer to cameras for incidences on the buses? Often?
no, but when you do, it's nice to have them, but not often. You know.
So they've had it done once in 5 years that we know of, but they've worked all the other times.
Yeah.
They've paid a penalty once in 5 years. I don't know. if
Right.
it worked. Yeah.
Something that we know of that hasn't worked. We don't know for sure because we haven't had to,
Right.
they've
We don't
worked
do
the other.
random checks.
I mean, I say we table it. We've got some time. But that's my opinion.
And the penalty's only $500. I don't know why they make a big stink about not having that in there if
We
they've
don't
only
have time.
been assessed once.
Drop in a bucket.
What'd you say, Jan?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Jan? I can hear you.
Muted.
What do you want to say, Jan? I've called her on our cell phone.
No, I was gonna say that we don't have time to table it. If we don't approve the contract extension and we have to go to bid.
So you're saying that we don't have time to table it, that if we'd have.
Yeah,
to-
but what, didn't they delay getting us this contract for like, we've tried to have this discussion like for the past 2 or 3 board meetings and it's not, they've not given us the stuff, right?
We had it last month, but we tabled it because Jan wasn't in the meeting.
And the month
So we
before
had it-
that,
The month
they
before
didn't have
that, we
the
did not
stuff.
have it. We were waiting.
Maybe just saying something like, here's what we would like. Can we have the penalty put back in the contract? Otherwise, we're going to have to go out to bid and it's going to cost them a lot of time to put the bid together. It might be in their best interest to have a guaranteed contract if they just put that statement back in. Or is that against our contract negotiation?
Can you call her? Okay, can we skip over this and come
Yeah,
back to
let's-
this item?
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
move to the next item.
All right, I'm gonna hang up, Jan, because I'm getting a lot of feedback. All right,
All right, the next item is the approval of the painting bid, which was enclosure number 2.
yeah, and administration recommends that we award the bid to RP Coatings without any of the alternatives. It's been a long time since we've had these areas painted. Pushing it off, we're just gonna need to get it painted later on. And then there'll be more that we need to get painted later on. So the recommendation right now is to move forward with the painting as presented.
So
Questions
here's
from
my
the-
concern. If we're, go ahead. If we're taking a hit on sales, county facilities sales tax, should we be spending money on this sort of thing right now? Or should we wait and see what we've got?
We're gonna need to continue to do facility updates. Painting of the inside is not building's not going to fall down if we skip over this. However, if it doesn't get painted this summer, it's going to need to wait till next summer because we are talking about large areas that need to be painted prior to the school year. And so pushing it off, it's just going to be that we're going to have other things. Everything else is going to get pushed off as well.
Been a while too, right? Those areas are really in need of updating, painting.
They've not been painted in my 13 years here.
Yeah, they really need to be done.
You can't stop everything. I mean, we got to continue to function through this. So, I mean,
Well, and I did talk to, if you don't mind me interjecting for a second, I did talk to a superintendent up in Decatur Public Schools area, and they were saying that that Walmart, they believe will be a big, like the places like Walmart and those essential places where people have been shopping for, the cleaning products and the, toiletries and all those things during the COVID crisis will hopefully offset some of the lost revenue from like the gas that, we're not going as far distance wise, but we're eating at home more. We're shopping at Walmart and Kroger's and Schnucks and places, so.
Lowe's was full, people doing projects because they're stuck at home.
That's what I've been doing every weekend is projects up at my house in Murphysboro. So I think different places are seeing, really, really high influxes. So I think hopefully the hit won't be as deep as some projected, but it was just, in a passing conversation about 1 cent sales tax, because every district that I worked in prior to Caro has had 1 cent sales tax, but obviously Caro has limited businesses, so we don't have a 1 cent sales tax. So it was just a question that I had when I was talking to a Central Illinois superintendent. So
the chances are also good that the cost on this is going to go up as well, just because of wages and insurance, etc. So
it's true.
All right. So your recommendation is to approve the painting bid as presented.
Yeah, RP.
I will entertain a motion to approve that recommendation.
So move.
Second.
Second.
Mrs. Hines?
Mr. Beavers?
Yes.
Mrs. Janes?
Yes.
Dr. Dorr?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mrs. Evaldi?
Yes.
Mr. Rungy?
Yes, motion carries. Item number 4 is the approval of the Murfreesboro High School Sports Complex ADA renovations bid, which was enclosure number 3.
And the recommendation here is we award the bid to Heartland Services. They were the lowest base bid, and we'd be doing this without the alternatives.
Questions from the board?
So we had talked about, is this going to also have the extra, like the restroom for the cheerleaders and the POM girls?
No, that came in at around $100,000, and so the Dazzlers will have to change back in the buildings, and that's what all the other athletes do as well. And so, talking with Cody, it was just $100,000 for the changing room that would just be used by the Dazzlers, and our recommendation is to not do that.
Oh my goodness.
Any other questions?
So they won't be changing in the bathroom anymore either, though, right?
Right. We can have them change inside the buildings, which would be a much better location.
Are there any other changes?
No, everything was as planned except for the fact that we didn't want to do that alternate bid for the changing room.
Anyone else? Then I'll entertain a motion to approve the recommendation for the sports complex renovation bid.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Mrs. Hines?
Mrs. Evaldi?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mrs. Janes?
Yes.
Dr. Dorr?
Yes.
Mr. Beavers?
Yes.
Mr. Rungy?
Yes, motion carries. Has Jan joined us yet?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Okay,
Okay, yes, I'm here.
so we'll move back to the transportation contract extension.
I have not gotten a hold of Shauna yet. She's not answering her phone or her text, so I can't answer that question yet.
Explain to me on the timeline, why would we have to go out to bid? Is it because,
We don't have to. No, I'm not saying we have to. I'm sorry if I couldn't hear what was going on. But the timeline gets tighter if we go to May and we still haven't worked it out. That's not a lot of time to bid a contract. And if the contractor changes to get new buses in and new routes, it's a really tight timeline at this point, is my only concern.
Well, to me, it's worth it to put the $500 penalty back in there. But
Hey,
again,
Jen, why were they wanting to take that out?
Because their equipment is 5 years old, and they were afraid that if they had, equipment malfunctions, that we were going to start charging them penalties right and left if they couldn't come up with a video or the video was compromised in any way. We haven't had issues. I mean, I'm only aware. I'm not saying that we've only paid the penalty once, because that's the only time that Mr. Grody and I have been aware that there has been an issue when a tape couldn't be produced. And that was just at that point, they had one of their buses was in the shop, and they brought in one from Carbondale that didn't have an older bus in an emergency. And it just happened to be one of those days where we had an incident. So it really hasn't been, and it's something that doesn't have to be in the contract. We put that in the contract at the pleasure of a board member 5 years ago. Because there had been issues with our older equipment, the previous, but now that it's a different video system, and to my knowledge, we haven't had issues. I think it's just the concern. They don't want to have to put a bunch of money into new equipment to make sure that they're not going to have issues on a 1-year contract, because it's, odds are, we could be looking to go out to bid next year.
Well, they need that equipment on their buses regardless. I mean, that's just.
Well, there's nothing in the contract about new equipment. So, I mean, replacing equipment at this point.
Well,
it's
right.
the existing equipment.
yeah, there's also no
And so
legal
they're not
requirement
saying
that we have cameras on the buses. I mean, I get it. It's good practice. It's best practice, but it's not a requirement.
Yeah.
So,
And they're basically doing that just because it's a 1-year extension. They don't want them, right?
Right. They don't want to have to spend more money to replace equipment when it's only 1 year.
So that leads me to think that there's a lot of equipment though that's not working if they think they need to replace. You know what I mean? If they thought that their equipment was working fine, it wouldn't be an issue.
So my question is, what's the price difference with having that in there and not having that in there?
They didn't give us a price for replacing equipment because we didn't ask for that. We didn't ask for new equipment because it's an extension. It's not a new bid.
No,
well, if their equipment's working fine, then why would they have to replace it? So
Right.
if their equipment's working fine, then they wouldn't be so concerned about the $500, which leads into exactly what Kara said. Is there a
They're
bunch of
concerned about
equipment
their
that's not
equipment. Why
working?
wouldn't they check it more often?
I mean, we're not asking them to put in new equipment. We just want whatever equipment is on the bus to work. And if there's an issue, if there's a fight, if anything happens and a parent or the police or whoever need to see the video, we need to see the video. And if they can't provide that, then they need to pay the fine. Is my
If we need to table it, because she's not answering her phone and by phone or text. So unless we can come back to it by the end of the meeting, I can't. I don't think I can make that promise that they'll do that because that wasn't part of the back and forth negotiation.
Can we vote contingent on that verbiage being added?
I don't think so.
But if you go back now to open that up, are they going to come back and raise their bid price?
Maybe. I mean, maybe. Or they
Yeah.
might, or they could. I mean, I'm not saying they would do that, or you could say, maybe we should bid. And based on what we just saw with, a neighboring district, the bids are not coming in low at all.
That's with the all new fleet and a whole bunch of other stuff that we
It was-
haven't asked for.
It was an 18% increase with old buses.
But I
So,
mean,
I
we would
mean-
have had an over a 20% increase had we gone out to bid. I mean, 2 years ago. I mean, we've had over a 20% increase as ourselves in the past 2 years plus this year. So maybe
Yeah,
we should
I
go
mean,
out to
I
bid.
don't know.
From what I'm hearing, we've got three options on the table. The first one is to accept the contract without the cameras, which sounds like that has the least likelihood of happening. Push this off till next month, to which then we will be in a tight situation to bid it out should we not have the negotiations come to an agreed upon point, or we go out to bid. Am I clear on those are the three options? What's the pleasure of the board?
I mean, for a 1-year deal, if it doesn't save us from going up an extension, I'll vote for it, but
I would want, I mean, we're giving them over almost $1.4 million. I don't think it's too much to ask to have working cameras. And if they don't work, then they pay a fine.
That's a gamble that they'll have to take if
Right.
it doesn't work. I mean, they can just not upgrade it or not fix it. But no, I think the camera should work.
So I'm hearing two that want the cameras in there.
From those two, would you rather us go out to bid, or would you rather us try and table this till next month?
I mean, I would rather try to work with West Bus Service if they're willing to work with us, but if not, then I guess we have to go out to bid. To me, that's the last option.
Mr. Brown? Haven't heard from you.
I still think that there's room here for them to make the right choice and work with us here for the next year, put the language back in out of good faith and not have to go to the effort of going to bid themselves. So it's guaranteed money if they just agree to the language.
Yeah. What is?
Okay, so it sounds like we're going to table this.
Well, let's go back to Shannon's idea. I mean, right now, the board would be willing to approve this contract as presented if it included the $500 penalty for them not having cameras for us, correct? I'm assuming that West will want to increase the cost a bit because they're going to look at their fleet, and if they've got 20 buses and 10 of them they know have those 5-year-old cameras and they need to replace them. I don't know how much a camera costs, but let's say it's $1,000 a camera. So they're going to want to add that cost into our contract. Or they can just say, well, we'll see what we can do and make sure that we can work this out. Could we pass this contract as it is with the understanding that we would like to have the $500 extension?
Yeah, but then what if that doesn't happen in the negotiation?
What's that, Jan?
I said, what if that doesn't happen in the negotiations? Then we basically passed with a contract.
Well, no, we've passed it pending the addition of the penalty clause. And so, I mean, we can wait till next month. I guess it doesn't really matter.
How many buses are there total?
I think there's routes.
30?
You think there's 30?
30?
22.
If the cameras are 10 years old, so we're talking about $1,000 a camera, but $100 a year. Even if they had to replace every one of them, it's $3,000 per year for a $1.4 million contract. I mean, I'm not
Right.
a rocket surgeon, but.
And it's not like they've had to replace those every year. I mean, we're talking, they might have had to replace them once every 5 years. So that makes it even less of a cost.
And if they go out and bid on another district, that district's going to want these cameras in their buses too. I mean, it's not like we're asking for something crazy.
No, I completely understand. It seems reasonable. I get what you're saying. So right now, what we're going to do is we're going to table this till next month. This week, we will see if we can get it worked out with West so that we can bring it back next month. If we can't work it out with West for whatever reason, we might need to have a special meeting to get permission to go out to bid.
But can we not just go ahead? Oh, you're saying we can't vote now and everybody agree that yes, as long as that verbiage is added back into the contract, that it's approved. That way we
I
don't have to
won't
waste-
vote that way because we've done that before and things get done anyway.
Agree. Yeah, we've said if something was done that we'd vote, and those things haven't happened, and then we're stuck with it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we can bring this back next month, or we'll have a special meeting to go out to get permission to go out to bid.
Okay, it's tabled. Moving to new business. Item number 1 is the renewal of the IHSA membership for 2020, 2021.
Yeah, and this is a yearly renewal, and we recommend that we continue with the IHSA membership.
Any questions? I'll entertain a motion to approve the recommendation for the membership of the IHSA.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 2 is the 2020-2021 school calendar, which was enclosure number 4.
Yeah, this is the calendar that was developed when we met with the MEA. My recommendation is to approve the calendar with the understanding that it may change due to the COVID crisis. I do not think that it would ever be any earlier. I think that the possibility would be that we're going to need to amend the calendar and start after Labor Day. Have a later start, I don't know. But the recommendation right now, I think, is to approve the calendar so that we can get that to Tri-County and they can start making plans for what we hope to be our next school year.
Would the thought be to cut into the spring break if we had to start later, or would you shift the whole calendar?
We
It
would
doesn't
shift
really
the
matter
whole
right
calendar.
now. So, yeah. Okay.
Any other questions? I'll entertain a motion to approve the school calendar as presented.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 3 is the authorization to graduate the class of 2020.
Yeah, it's that time of year where we authorize the high school administration to start making the diplomas. This is a completely different year. I heard a student quoted this week that basically said, I should be in school complaining about being in school. And I think that that's a really well said statement. But we do need to graduate these kids. We are looking at what we are going to do to memorialize their achievements. And I'd like some board representations to meet with a subcommittee with Mr. Ellemeyer and discuss options with that. But really what we're doing here is administration recommends that the board authorize us the permission to get this diplomas going. And then I'd like to have some reps, the president, Mr. Runge, and another to sit on this committee. I know Troy Brown would be willing. Is there somebody else?
I'd volunteer for that.
You'd volunteer in that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll let you and Troy arm wrestle over it.
You know what? Let both of them. I'll step back.
Okay, we'll have Troy and Annette be on that committee. Is that good?
Have you heard anything of what other districts are doing?
There's some placards, some signs with the students' pictures that are being put up in some districts. We're looking at that as an option for us. Other places are trying to figure it out too.
I did hear the news tonight, right before the meeting, that, of course, preliminary to all the orders, Cobden's pushing the prom and graduation to July. Prom's July 11th and their graduation's tentatively for July 18th, but nobody knows depending on the order. So
yeah, the problem with pushing it back to July is your military people are gone. The ones that
Correct.
have gone off to other states and whatnot are gone. And so you're going to miss a lot of your population.
And then you got, if that changes at the last minute with an order, then you got, people made plans for July too, and people are going to college. And I mean, it's just a rough situation all around.
Yeah, so what I have heard is just trying to make the kids feel special. And so there's parades that are being done and things of that nature. But I think that there's been some ideas bandied about, and a subcommittee of people talking about it's our best option.
Well, I think we need to include our mayor in some of those talks as far as what we do for our graduates, because it doesn't just affect the school, it affects the whole community.
Yeah, Cody, I talked to Cody, and Cody's already been in contact with the mayor, so I know that that's already going on.
Yeah, and
there's
I talked with our
conversations already being
foundation
held.
board, Ed Heller on our foundation board, it wants to be a part of that as well. And so we'll get a group together and we'll work something out. We'll make lemonade as we always do.
All right, so I need a motion to approve the authorization to graduate the class of 2020.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 4 is the review of the student fee.
Yeah, we're looking at registration, and with our current situation, whether or not we were going to do online or paper. One of the things I know that we want to do is figure out how many, add a question to the registration process. Do you have internet at home? To get an understanding of who has more broadband and everything. But with that, we were in discussions, and what administration is recommending is that we waive registration fees for the next school year. That is, here we got about $40,000. And so waiving the school fees for the district would be about a $40,000 reduction to the budget. But I believe that given our economic situation, waiving the student fees for our families would be wise.
So I have a question, Chris. Also, and I bring this up because I've had several families that have talked to me about it, but not just the internet, but do they have a computer at home that they can use? Because if they have the internet, that's great. Maybe they're accessing it through their phone, but maybe they don't have a computer that they can use.
Yeah, we've got devices that we could help support the families that don't have devices. The real problem is that the internet is something that we can't provide them, and we need to know if they have or not.
Right.
So,
well, if we continue to work from home, there may be more people contacting schools about devices, because I know some that are struggling.
Yeah. Anyway, the recommendation right now is to waive the registration fees for the next school year.
And I'll entertain a motion to approve that recommendation.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
Mrs. Hines?
Mrs. Evaldi,
Yes.
Dr. Dorr,
Yes.
Mrs. Janes,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Beavers,
Yes.
Mr. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Rungy.
Yes, motion carries. Item number 5 is the press policy updates.
Yeah.
Number 103, which was enclosure number 5. This is informational.
It's your first reading, so this is just, review it and contact me with questions and concerns.
Item number 6 is the consolidation district plan, which is enclosure number 6.
This is a yearly thing. I believe this is the 3rd year for the consolidated district plan. It's gone through our school improvement processes, and we recommend that we approve it so that I can submit it to the State Board of Education.
And I'll entertain a motion to approve that recommendation.
So move.
Second, did I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 7 is the intergovernmental agreement for COPE Safe Schools Program, which was enclosure number 7.
COPE is the alternative school that we use in lieu of expulsions. The recommendation is that we continue this program.
And I'll entertain a motion to approve that recommendation.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Item number 8 is the intergovernmental agreement for SOAR Alternative Education Program, which was enclosure number 8.
And SOAR is much like COPE. It's for students that are struggling in our current educational programming. The recommendation is that we continue with this.
And I'll entertain a motion to approve that recommendation.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Item number 9 is the approval of the resolution for inter-fund loan from working cash fund to the transportation fund.
Yeah, as stated, the categoricals are coming in a little slower. So this is a loan that will be paid back as soon as the categoricals are paid. And so this is just one of those auditing procedures that we're asking the permission of so that we can make our payments.
And I'll entertain a motion to approve that recommendation.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
Second.
Mrs. Hines.
Mr. Beavers,
Yes.
Dr. Dorr,
Yes.
Mrs. Evaldi,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Green,
Yes.
Mrs. James,
Yes.
Mr. Rungy.
Yes, motion carries. We have a need to go into closed session.
I make a motion to go into closed session pursuant to Section 2 of the Open Meetings Act 5, Illinois Compiled Statutes 120/2C, to review the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the district, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee to determine its validity.
And a second,
Second.
Mrs. Hines.
Mr. Beavers,
Yes.
Dr. Dorr,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Green,
Yes.
Mrs. James,
Yes.
Mrs. Evaldi,
Yes.
Mr. Rungy.
Yes, motion carries.